Welcome back, Mr. T here, episode 6. Time to design this hole, but first we're going to make a little minor tweak to our camera controller. As I was building a few hole prototypes and kind of doing different designs, I realized we need to add a little extra control to the camera. So I want you to open up this script first, and we're just going to add something really quick to it. Okay, so on here we are controlling the yaw, which is the rotation on the y-axis, but we're actually going to control the pitch of the camera as well. This makes a lot of sense because it allows us to see more of the hole. So we're going to create a public float, call it pitch, and we're going to set that to 30F for the default. Okay, and then we're going to be clamping this pitch. It's going to be controlled by our mouse going up and down on the y-axis. So we're going to have a min pitch. And we're going to set that, don't need to go any lower than 20. And we're also going to have a, a max pitch, and we'll set that to 90. So 90 degrees allows us to have that total straight top down bird's eye view if we want that. Okay, now we're just going to add a few lines, and it's going to be easy. We're just going to be copy pasting with a few edits. So right here where when we hold the right mouse button, I want to take this float and we're going to duplicate this capturing of the x-axis, except we're going to get the y. So just make sure we change that to mouse y and this to mouse capital Y as well. And now we're just below the yaw. We're going to update the pitch plus or minus on the y value. So that's going to work just fine, but we want to clamp this one. The yaw we can rotate around in circles as much as we want, but we do need to clamp the pitch. So we're going to use math f.clamp, and that's going to allow me to take the pitch and clamp it between min pitch and and max pitch. There we go. And almost done. Now we just need to utilize this pitch variable that we just created and we're controlling with our mouse. Everywhere the two spots we have it here on the transform Euler angles, we don't want the 40F. We want to set that to the pitch value. And then down here as well, we're going to set that to pitch as well. And that's it. That's all. It's good to go. So back into Unity here, and we'll test it, and then we'll take a look at doing some 3D design. So I'm going to press play here and just show you what it looks like and show you a little trick too. So you notice our camera snapped to this angle right here, 30, and it's got this position. Okay, so I'm just going to right click that and copy that, and we'll store that for a second. So I just want to test this out. So I hold the right mouse button, I can go left, right, and now I can tweak the pitch. So now I can see further down the hole and get a bird's eye view, and it allows me to do that. And while it's shooting, I can press the right mouse button, rotate, control the pitch again while it's moving. Works great. Okay, now what I was just mentioning, it's nice to have your camera set where it's going to start. So I'm just going to take that, right click and paste that value. I'm going to round these off to 16 and -29 on the Z, and set that to the 30, the default. So now that's how my level's going to start. The camera's not going to move as soon as I press play when I'm game testing. Okay, now 3D design. So to do this, we're going to have to bring in a package called ProBuilder. Now we have to use ProBuilder to create the hole. There are a couple other ways to do it, of course. You could use 3D software like Blender or other software out there would work just fine. Blender's nice, it's free, it's by donation, so we can utilize that. But I found the quickest, easiest way, and it's great to use ProBuilder because the more we stay in Unity, the better. It allows you to make all kinds of different 3D shapes that are outside of the basic 3D options that Unity has here: cube, sphere, capsule, cylinder, plane, quad, and so on. So all of these here, you can build your whole golf hole with these totally fine, but you actually, to make a hole is really, really challenging. You actually can't put a hole like in this ground. It's it's something that Unity doesn't have implemented, but ProBuilder does. And so I'm going to be utilizing ProBuilder. And in this, I'm going to be giving you some ideas on how to create this, but there is a couple things we must follow. Specifically, the size of the hole has to be the same in all golf holes. So you can't be playing around with that. So I'm going to show you how to create this. Here's how we do it. Window. We got to get ProBuilder package first. So we're going to go to Package Manager and make sure if this isn't set, it says in project, we want to go to Unity Registry and it'll update these packages. You're going to scroll down and you should see ProBuilder down here. It is alphabetical, but you could use the search bar here. We're going to install that, okay, and wait for that to get done. Now that will take a few minutes, but you can see I just did some video editing and got that in right away. Also under samples here, you want to add the universal render pipeline support, so make sure you import that as well. Okay, now we got ProBuilder inside of our project here. So how do we get to it? Well, we go Tools and ProBuilder's right here, and we have ProBuilder Window. Okay, so when we open that window up, we get this here. I'm just going to replace that where our game window is, so I can tab that there. Okay, and we got a lot of things grayed out here, but the main ones you're going to be using is New Shape, New Poly Shape are the two things you're going to be utilizing. Okay, so when we go New Shape, it's going to pop up all these different shape options. We got different arches, we got cone and cube we're used to, cylinder we have, but even this unique door shape, cylinder, stairs even, and a prism, a weird looking like torus, like donut shape. So we have all these different options, okay? And you're going to be able to control the shape properties and what they first look like and their sizes and so on and so forth. So this is what's really nice about ProBuilder. So what we're going to do actually is I'm going to take this ground and I'm going to be replacing it. So I'm going to first create a really basic hole here. I'm not doing anything fancy. So I'm just going to first create this initial shape here. Okay, and as I click on the screen, I can drag up and down and set the height here. And then I'm going to head over here on the side here and adjust this size. So what's really important is I want you to set the Y size to 3. We do want to keep a 3 thickness, and this is because of the hole that we're going to be creating shortly. And I'm going to make this pretty long. I think we can make this, let's go 50, sorry, not in that direction. Let's keep it at about 20 on the X, and we can go 50. Maybe we'll go even more. Let's go 70 on the Z. There we go. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this ground and I'm actually going to delete that. I'm going to take this, here we go. So I'm just going to move it down here and then move it down on the Y. And I'm not going to be spending too much time trying to get this just perfect. You'll do that in your design. I'm just going to delete this one wall that's in our way right now. And I'm just going to try and tweak this a little bit more. We'll bring that down just a tad. Okay, and I am going to be sharing a number of ProBuilder tutorials as well. I'm just missing, hold on, let's just see something here. Layout, default, there we go. I was looking for this button here. I want to center it so now I can see that that's right there for me. Okay, and so let's just move this down a little bit, try to match it up as best I can with the current walls. Okay. Okay, I think I'm pretty okay with that. Please move that over just a tad. Okay, so here's our ProBuilder right now, and ProBuilder has this material that has everything going by 1 meter, so it kind of gives you that grid on there to kind of help you line everything up. Our ball sitting on top and flying down. So let's actually make this green though, just to match our previous materials. So our ground, make it back to what we had before. Okay, and this right now doesn't have, does have a mesh collider on it, but this is where we're going to use something brand new. So there's our hole. Again, I'm not going to go in depth of doing all kinds of different ProBuilder design builds, tutorials I'm going to be sharing, but you get to play with this and experiment and create your hole. Again, big thing I want to mention is please make sure you make the thickness 3. For anywhere that is flat ground where your hole is going to be, has to be a thickness of 3 where the hole is located, okay? Because let's make a hole. And to do that, what we're going to be doing is going to Edit, Preferences, choose ProBuilder here, and what we're going to be doing is the experimental features enabled. We need to turn this on because it's going to allow us to cut out a hole in this ground we just created. So I want you to click that, and it's going to take a second because it's going to, you see down here, it's going to recompile our scripts, and hopefully this doesn't take too long. There we go. We can see our this is checked now off, and also while I paused, I just tweaked my boundaries just so then I have some walls to bounce off of in our game. Okay, so here we are. We can press play, and we're about to add the hole here, but we'll just get an idea of what everything looks like here. And now you can see why the pitch is important. If the hole's at the bend, I couldn't see it until I could control the pitch. And so now we're able to see things a little bit better. Oh, I am back in free aspect, so let's put that back in full HD. That's better. Try that again. And yeah, so we can see why pitch is so vital here. So we can see all the way down, pull back, take a shot down there, and hopefully hit the hole. How do we add a hole? Okay, so adding a hole is not too bad at all. What we're going to be doing is we're going to go back into our ProBuilder, so Tools, ProBuilder. We're going to get our ProBuilder window, and just going to tab that there, and I'm going to make a new shape, and the shape I'm going to be making is a cylinder. Okay, so this cylinder right now, I'm going to go into my scene. I'm going to draw it just to get the beginning shape of it. I'm going to be tweaking the values here. Okay, so now over on my cylinder, I want to turn up the side count. Right now we kind of have this hexagon because it's only got 6 sides. I think we got to bring this all the way up to make it nice and circular. So about, actually, you know, I think 20 is going to be enough. Let's go with 25. Okay, 25, nice and circular shape there. The Y, like I said, you need to make that at least 3, okay, because that's the width of our ground, but we're going to pop that a little bit higher. You'll see why in a second. So go 3.5. Now, how wide should this be? The X and the Z need to match. So this is telling us what this the shape of this is going to be. And so I did some research, and the golf hole is approximately, almost exactly 2.5 times the diameter of the golf ball. So we're going to make this 2.5. Because our golf ball's diameter is 1, we're going to go 2.5, 2.5. And this will be a relatively accurate hole compared to the size of our ball. All right. Now, what do I do with this thing? Because it is currently not a hole at all. So I'm just going to click off to the side here. And now I can grab my cylinder, and we're going to go and put it where we want the hole. Now, for me, I'm going to be centering this as best I can on my playing area. Okay, so centering it on my X, we can see I want to set that to 0 here. And that should, ProBuilder does do a couple weird things where things don't quite line up the way I always want them to. So I feel like that's a little bit more centered right there. Okay, now let's go zoom down here on our golf hole, and we're going to bring it down. Okay, so once I bring it down here, you just got to make sure it's protruding out the top and on the bottom a little bit. Okay, so that's why we made it 3.5. Now, what are we going to do with this? This is where this experimental function we had to turn on. So we're going to go back up to Tools, ProBuilder, and we're going to go down to Experimental and the Boolean CSG tool. Now, how do we use this? Now, what we can do is, what this allows you to do is you can intersect two different ProBuilder shapes, or union, or you can do a subtraction, which is what we want to do. So I want to take this new ground, which is currently just called cube, and I'm going to take my cylinder and pop it in there. And now once I hit apply, it's going to do a subtraction. Well, when I do this, you're not going to notice too much. Press apply, and it still looks like it's still there, but you notice I have a new game object. So when I take this cylinder, original cylinder, and I take the cube, that's my ground, I'm going to turn them both off. And now you'll notice, and I can get rid of this, that it has cut a hole in there. So it creates a new game object, but also deletes, it subtracts the second object I put in. So this is a cool way to add a simple hole to this 3D ProBuilder platform or ground that I created. All right, so now with this hole, if I were to shoot the ball, it will go to oblivion right now. It'll just fall through here and keep on going and going and going. So I'm going to just quickly create a new, I don't need to use ProBuilder. I can just make a quick cube here. And this cube, I'm going to bring it up here. I'm going to make it wider. So I'm going to increase, whoops, that's not the one I want to use. Let's go bigger in both directions. So let's make this probably 4 by 4 in those directions. Right now we can't see it, so maybe let's bring this up so we can actually see it here. It's way off to this side. That's not where we want it. Okay, so let's try to get this right in the position. So we want to get it basically underneath our hole. Again, we're not going to see underneath this, but I want to bring it all the way down until it's at the bottom. So right about there looks good. If you need to, you can go down underneath and take a look at how that looks. And I can even tweak it further. We can go inside to really get a good view here. So that's going to be the bottom. All right. So now we have a hole. It's going to work. That cube, it has a box collider already. This new object does not have a collider at all. If I were to press play, the ball would just fall right through. So please make sure you add a component, and you're going to be adding a mesh collider. So a mesh collider is going to wrap all around this. And now if we were to press play, let's get our game window up. I should be able to shoot the ball down and into this hole. Let's see if I can get it in one shot. Now, of course, you can't go too fast or else you're going to bounce over the hole. So let's try right about there. That might be a little bit hard. Let's see. Nice. And it's gone in the hole. So if I go and tilt my camera, I can see it down there and everything looks good. So now I want to talk about a few more things. First thing first, it's a little weird that this is grayscale inside here. We're going to want to make that black. So right away, I'm going to right click, create a new material. There it is there. And we're going to just call this the hole. And the hole material, actually, let's be consistent. Let's call it hole underscore matte for the hole material. And we're just going to quickly make that very black. Okay. So now that it's black, I'm going to tweak the metallic mapping there a little bit until I like it. There we go. And so I'm going to apply this to the cube that's down there. We're going to rename things in a second. So that's now black on the bottom. We've got to get black on the sides. And here's how you do that. So what you're going to do is, it's a little bit of a tedious task, but you're going to grab this object and you can select these different faces. Once we have the ProBuilder up, and we'll be able to hold, I'm trying to remember how we select these faces. I think we have to go, okay, on ProBuilder, I have it selected. And we're going to just have to go and press. Yes, right here we have our 4 tools for ProBuilder. Object selection, which is what I'm on by default. That's why it wasn't working. We have a vertex selection. You can adjust every vertex if you want. We can adjust edges and face selection. So now it lets me pick all these faces, but I can click and drag and grab a bunch at once there, and then drag the black onto that. So if I click up here, now we can see that part's black. So it's, like I said, is a little bit tedious. I have to go inside here now, and then I'll try to grab a whole bunch of those now. And let's drag on the black material there. And I think I can get it one more shot on this angle. So just going to grab those. Whoops, careful that you don't select one of those other faces. There, that should. Let's back up. Nice. There you go. And you got a black hole for our ball to fall into. It's ready to go. So now I'm going to conclude this video in a few seconds here. I just want to take note of a few things. So when you're creating your level now, I really want you to keep in mind as you design this, it would be a really good idea to do it in pencil first on paper. A little bit of old school, but get an idea, get a plan of what you're going to be creating in this, your 3D mini golf hole. Now, the idea is I don't want to see any holes that take, on average, like a decent player should be able to score in 5 shots. Okay, now that meaning that par 5 max. You can do a par 3, par 4, but par 5 max. So we're looking at holes that take 3 to 5 shots for a decent player. Okay, a bad player, of course, is probably not going to do as well, but we need to set some type of value or max or an expectation of when you're designing this hole for difficulty. Okay, you can use the basic 3D shapes here, okay, as much as you want. I do recommend using the cube for when you're doing walls or anything you want to ricochet off of or bounce off of with the correct angles. Just remember you have to put that tag walls on it. And as you design your level, create some prefabs. That is really helpful, so then you can bring those back in to utilize whenever you need them. Like what I would do right now is I would take my ground here. Let's rename it to ground, and then I'm going to just child this cube to it. This old cylinder I don't need, the old cube I don't need, and then there's my ground with my cube. So I'm just going to, I know the cube is at the bottom. Later on, we're going to use this to detect a collision to tell us when you've scored. So I'm just going to actually call this the hole, even though it is technically the cube at the bottom of the hole. Okay, so now we got everything set up here. So when you're using ProBuilder and designing, first pencil it out, then start to build it in ProBuilder here using the different features and different shapes. You can make a completely custom shape here with new poly shape, whatever you want, and then also using the rudimentary shapes that Unity has to offer. So start making your hole. You can do lots of fun things. You can also bring in any other graphics material, so skyboxes, anything on the outside, 3D objects, all staying within the URP, no HDRP, which should be fine. Just anything in the universal render pipeline or below will look great in this. And let's see what kind of holes you start to create. So this will take some time, and I'll definitely create something a little bit more exciting than this straight shot hole in one. All right, we'll see you in the next video. Have fun designing.